First day for us is, always evaluated by where we've gone from, or what progress we've made. So I'm just comparing last year, the first practice we had, compared to where we are this year, and I think I probably wouldn't have made the press conference if I didn't think we could make significant progress. I would have been up in my office right now, but I'm here, so we made significant progress from last year to this year. Just our guys know what to do. We were a lot more efficient out there today, and we got a lot of work to do on getting our players to finish everything that they do on a consistent basis. But I'm saying the same thing that every football coach is saying after their first practice. I think the thing that I'd want to start with is that we're a lot further ahead this year than we were at this time last year.
You don't have to hammer home tempo to them like you were a year ago.
No, I think they understand what that means more than anything else. So, and how we practice too. The way we want to practice, the way we want to be able to compete against each other. And I said this pretty clearly in our press conference, is that we have to be able to push each other and not cross the line where we lose somebody. Because we don't have the luxury to play 2 or 3 games in our schedule and kind of, for playing outmanned opponents, they play for the first half and then you sit them down. We have to push each other aggressively, but also be cognizant of the fact that we need all our best players playing. So that's really what they understand better in terms of how to practice.
In terms of the tempo of your offense, how has that impacted, say you average 165 yards rushing this year and you can count on your defense being good against the run consistently? You've always wanted to run up-tempo offense, but how does that impact the tempo of your offense if you have those other assets?
Well, the ability to control the tempo is what we want, and that means that we can decide when we want to play fast and when we want to pull back and take a look at the defense, or even take time off the clock. So you can't start slow if you want to play fast. So we have to do everything right now at that fast tempo, but it's to get to the end of controlling the game from an offensive perspective in terms of how we want to play it.
Brian, your first look at some of the new guys, who jumped out at you today?
I could tell you that we're a lot longer. The things that we wanted to achieve as a football team, we wanted to be bigger. We needed size. We needed length. We needed some speed. We clearly have that. Now we have to refine that. So, I could go through a number of guys that we got a chance to better evaluate in the morning in conditioning work. We had some conditioning work in the morning. The afternoon, those guys are swimming a little bit. You know what I mean? So they don't play quite as fast as you would like. But there's no mistaking their size and their athleticism. It's just going to take a little time to get these guys to where they can just rely more on their athletic ability.
In terms of practice, you don't have a lot of two days planned. How different is it from 5-10 years ago when it'd be 2 a day every day for 2 weeks?
Well, I think there's pluses and minuses to it. The pluses obviously is that you can go at a slower pace. You get more time to install, and you know that you're going to get that opportunity to get everything in. For us, I've already kind of mentioned that we want to get this stuff done, in 2.5 weeks. So that's the negative. The positive is the season's so long now, and you've got to be relying on your players to be at their peak in November and December. And if you're going 2-a-days every day, you're probably not going to have all your players available to you in January and February.
Brian, what are you looking like at that third receiver opposite Floyd and Riddick, and throwing TJ in there? How has he come back from all the tragedy that he's had to deal with?
He's done remarkably well, and we've kept a close eye on it, but he's handled himself very well, inserted himself back in a manner that, I don't want to say I was surprised, but he's handled himself so well. So that next best player, as you all know, after Riddick and Floyd, is either TJ or Goodman. So those are the guys that are competing for that next starting position, and then the other guy will be a swing guy. So that will be a very competitive situation.
In terms of leadership, were there a few guys maybe that today kind of showed some stuff that you hadn't seen from them before?
Yeah, I think they're just more vocal. And again, I don't want to confuse that with leadership as much as it could be just more familiar with what to expect from us. Leadership takes forms off the field in a different manner as well. But on the field, I think we have a lot more guys that are very confident and know what they're doing, and it's the same thing. You know, we didn't come into this first practice and it was not much different than anything that we did during the year, other than the kind of practice we had in terms of the efficiency and the work volume and conditioning. So leadership, I don't know about that as much as we have a lot more guys that are vocal and know what to expect.
How much has Braxton improved, and how, I guess, key or integral is that to like the pace of your offense going up a notch, if he can handle that? We always talk about the quarterback handling the pace. The center, it seems key for him too.
I don't know yet, you know, until we really get him into a scrimmage situation. Like, he's fine today, you know, when we're in tag off, you know, he looks really good. He's a lot more athletic, he moves better, he lost some weight, but that's the first part. The second part would be, all right, can he translate that into, you know, he's got to block Lewis Nix and Sean Schwanar and snap the ball too. So first stage looks good. I think I'll better answer that question when we get into some live scrimmaging.
Coach, how was Dean, Dave back here, sorry.
Yeah.
How was Dean's practice today?
I was very, very happy with Dane today. The biggest thing with Dane is, after having 2 knee surgeries, sometimes you get a little protective of your lower body and you slow down your footwork, and you know, you're kind of, for the best analogy I could come up with, it was feeling your way through it. I didn't sense that at all. I felt him very aggressive with his throwing, spinning the ball very tight. It wasn't what I saw in the spring. I thought he was tentative at times in the spring. I was very pleased with the way he competed today and threw the football.
Coach, you mentioned some of the other playmakers earlier on.
Yeah.
How about Eifert? Where's he been in the offense this year?
Very
How much different is his role from last year at this time?
Well, last year at this time he was in a backup role, but later in the season he clearly was one of our playmakers and a guy that we look towards. He looked great today, very comfortable in our offense, and certainly as we highlight playmakers, he's definitely one of our playmakers.
Brian, are you still searching, especially with the young guys, to still maybe make some subtle position changes or find positions for people?
Yeah, but they will not be impact positions. They'll be to solidify some depth. They may be even to promote special teams play. But there won't be the kind of moves that we made last year in terms of moving some guys in positions that may be key positions. I think we're done with that. But you may see a guy flip a position here or there, but they will be more for depth more than anything else.
Those freshmen kind of depth, your defensive end, he could be a tight end, he could be an outside linebacker. Troy Nicholas could just kind of talk about, you know, his offseason since he got here and
Yeah.
just how he might be able to help you.
Well, he's extremely athletic, and he's got a high motor. Again, I'm basing it a lot off of, you know, our conditioning movement drills this morning versus what we did in the afternoon, because again, they're a little bit slower when they're trying to think about where to be. Troy Nicholas, Tony Springman, Tuitt, Lynch, Jarrett Grace. I could give you about 10 guys that we were really impressed when we met as a staff quickly after the morning conditioning. There were a lot of smiles on a lot of faces that these are guys that, you know, we can see down the road. Now, believe me, once you ask them to, hey, you got the curl flat, there's a disconnect there right now, so that's going to take a little time.
Brian, you talked about the timetable of naming a quarterback. What about in terms of deciding on your return men? Can you go deeper into preseason camp before you make a
That will shake itself out. You know, we've got 4 or 5 guys in mind. It's not 15. We've got 4 or 5 guys. Now, we're going to have to do some things a little bit differently in camp, because we're going to have to probably tackle some of those guys just to, you know, get a better sense, because it's a very important position for us. We were an up and down special teams unit. Poor sometimes, excellent in others. We have to be much better, and our return men have to be part of that. So it's going to take a long time, but it's not one where, you know, I guess you guys could even look at the roster. There's probably 6, 7 guys max that can play in those
Can you
positions.
name some front runners?
Well, Theo Riddick's got to be back there. There's no question. You know, we're going to take a look at, you know, the guys that are shorthand guys, you already know. Okay, so they're not going to change. Goodman can catch the ball back there. Harrison Smith can catch it back there. Robbie Toma. Okay, those are the shorthand guys. Now guys that have a chance to make something happen. I'll put Theo Riddick out there for one. We're going to take a look at and see if there's another wide receiver. Maybe Michael Floyd can do something back there. We're going to look at a lot of different options when it comes to Cam McDaniel. He was a punt returner in high school, was very dynamic. We're going to look at George Atkinson. We're going to look at Everett Golson. We're going to look at young guys that can be exciting with the football in their hands and see how that pans out.
Anything else?
Brian, how's Jordan Prestwood?
Yes.
How's he adjusted? And I know he's not going to be able to help you on
Yeah.
the field this year. But
Well, he wasn't in any of our summer workouts, so he's a step behind. But boy, he's got all the tools necessary for us. We were really pleased when we looked out there today with our second and third unit. We had a number of freshmen that we're really high on. If you take Hanratty and Haggerty, if you look at the two redshirt freshmen in Nichols and Lombard, Brad Carrico. We had a number of freshmen, including Jordan Presswood. We had a number of freshmen that looked really good and picked things up quickly. So we're really excited about having a number of freshman linemen that have a chance to be successful down the road. Thanks, guys.